Hello friends, welcome back. Today we would be covering a topic which has been asked to me multiple times in one of my previous video tutorials. That is how to automate web pages which has web elements without IDs. To demonstrate the same, we would be using this web form. We would be automating this web form using Excel macros, but the web objects which we can see over here will not use the ID property even if it is there. So let's begin. So first of all, we'll need to see the HTML properties of these web elements. So I'm using the Chrome browser. You could use any browser. The procedure is the same. You have to right click on that element, click on inspect. You could see below this small window has come up, which is showing the property of this first name text box. It is highlighted in light blue color. You could see this text box does not have an ID. It has a class which is txtbox and name is equal to fname. So what we'll do, we will populate this first name text box using the name attribute. So we'll go to our Excel macro. Here I have already written the initial steps where we are actually launching the browser and navigating to the web page. For people who are watching the tutorial on this topic for the first time, it is my request to please watch another tutorial which I have uploaded some time ago. The link for the same has been provided in the description section of this video. Please go through it. It will explain you all these steps which are done over here. Else it would be a bit difficult for you to understand the following steps which I would be demonstrating right now. At this point where we have created the doc object, we'll use this doc object to identify the first name text box using the name attribute. The syntax goes like this: doc dot get elements by name, and the name which was there here, the name attribute is fname. So we will mention fname within double inverted quotes dot value is equal to any value of your choice, whatever value you want to populate in the first name text box. For example, test1234. Now very important to note, if you read this carefully, it is get elements. It is the plural form. Whenever it is get elements, you cannot just leave the property as is. You also have to provide the index of the property. I am providing the index in this case as 0. I'll tell you why I have put this as 0 and when this would be 1, 2 or 3. For now, assume this is as 0. I have put 0 because internally the indexing begins from 0. 0 indicates the first element which has the name attribute as fname. Just be patient. In few seconds I'll explain you more on this index part. Now let's just execute these lines of code and see what actually happens. If everything is written well, this text box will get populated with the value test1234 on the Internet Explorer browser. So let's execute this. I am clicking this green button on the top. You could see the browser is coming up. The page has opened and it has correctly populated test1234 which was provided over here. So at this point we have correctly identified the first name text box without using its ID. We just used the name attribute and successfully populated it. Now let's move forward. Now let's focus on the last name. So to fetch the HTML properties, I'll click on this arrow over here and then highlight it on the last name and do a left click on my mouse. So below in light blue color, you could see the HTML properties of the last name text box. Now here the class is txtbox and name is lname. So if I want the last name to be populated with the help of the name property, you have to repeat the same steps. Only thing is this fname would be replaced with the lname. But what we'll do, since we have already used the name property for the first name, we will use the class attribute for the last name. The syntax to use the class name is almost same. What I'll do is I'll just copy this previous line, paste it. Now at this point, get elements by name. Instead of name, we should provide class name. So the syntax is doc.get elements by class name. The class is txt box, which I'm copying from here. It should be exactly as is. Txt box 0 dot value is equal to 1 2 3 4. Instead of 1 2 3 4, I'm writing 5 6 7 8. Now let's execute these lines of code and see what is the result. So I click on this green button on the top. You could see the browser has come up, and now let's see what happens. Oh my god, it has printed test 5678 at first name instead of last name. You know why? Once again we'll see the code. Here we have mentioned identify the element by class name txt box of 0. Now if you see the HTML, the class of first name is again txt box. The class for both first name and last name is the same txt box, but the first name text box appears first, so it has the internal index as 0, and the last name should have the index as 1. In our code, we have mentioned identify the control which has class as text box, but the index is 0, because of which it has populated the first name with test 5678. The correct index value for last name would be 1. If you see on our web page, this is the second text box which has the class as txt box. Now since we have made these changes, let's once again execute and see if we have correctly identified the element. Now you see first name is correctly populated with 1 2 3 4 and last name with test 5678, which was expected. So now I hope you have understood how to use the indexes. So up till now we have identified the first name without its ID. We have used the name attribute, the last name with the help of the class name attribute. The last name can also be identified using the name attribute. I'll quickly show you. Here it would be L name and the index would be 0 because there is no other element which has the name as L name. This is the only element which has the name as L name, so the index here would be 0. I'll just comment the above line by using a single quote. Save this, and now once again I click on this green button, and now it has populated both the text boxes, first name and last name, with test 1 2 3 4, because if you see the code, first name has the value test 1 2 3 4, last name has the value 1 2 3 4. You could use the class name or just the name depending on what is available in the HTML. I have shown you both the identifiers. So now let's move forward. What is the next control? Now this is a radio button. We would be performing a click operation on the radio button. So first we'll see the HTML properties. So you could see the name is equal to gender, type is equal to radio, value is equal to M. For the next radio button, which is female, again name is gender. So if I want to use the name attribute and select the gender as female, what will I have to do? Yes, you are correct. You'll have to use the name with the index as 1. So let's go ahead and write the code. Doc.get elements by name. Here the name is gender. we want to click female, so I'll put the index as 1 dot click. Here we are not populating any data in it, we are just clicking it, so we have used dot click. Once again, let's execute this and let's see what happens. You could see it has correctly clicked on the female radio button. Let's move ahead and try to select couple of hobbies. Let's identify the HTML properties of hobbies. You could see the name is hobbies, type is equal to checkbox. This first one is traveling, next one is reading. So if I want to select reading and sports, you could see the name is hobbies, the spelling is incorrect, it is hoobies actually, but whatever it is present over here, you will have to use the same thing in our code. So if I want to select reading and sports, the index would be 1 and 3. So let's populate the hobbies. Once again, I'll use doc.get elements by name. The name is hoobies, the spelling is incorrect, but we'll use the same incorrect spelling, else your code wouldn't be able to identify the element. So I want to select hobbies as reading, so I'll select option 1 dot click. I'll copy this line and 3 will be sports. Let's save this, and once again I click on this green button. Let's see what happens. Perfect. You could see it has now selected reading and sports, which was expected. So let's move forward and populate the rest of the fields. If you would see, next fields, the occupation and the date of birth, like these are all drop down fields. We have to select some options, like the occupation could be business, professional, service. Date of birth, some random date of birth we'll select. Now if we'll observe the HTML properties of these drop downs, for example, occupation class is DDL, name is occupation. You could either use class or use occupation. For date of birth, if you'd see again, the class name is DDL, so we'll have to be very careful with the indexes if we are using class names. Here the name is day. For month, again the class name is the same as DDL, but the name is month. For year, again the class name is DDL, name is day. Now this is a bit confusing. Now the HTML has name incorrect, like ideally the name over here should be year, but by mistake the developer has put the name as DAY, day. So it will be interesting, but somehow we would be able to achieve our goal. So what we'll do is we will select occupation with the help of class, date of birth day with the help of name, date of birth year with the help of name, and the month we'll select with the help of class. So let's move forward. We want to select the occupation by class, so I will copy this syntax. The class name was DDL. It was the first instance of DDL, so the index would be 0 dot value. Now the value selection is important. If you just once again see the HTML properties of the occupation drop down, you could see this arrow. If you click over there, you would be displayed with the options, and if you'd see, the value is equal to the different options. Value is equal to business, value is equal to professional. So if I want to select the value as service, I will have to mention this in my code. So I'll use service. I'll just copy the service over here and use it in my code like this. So doc.get elements by class name DDL, the first DDL which has the index 0 dot value is equal to service. Similarly, if I want to select the date of birth, for day I'll be using the name attribute. So let me copy this. The name for the day is DAY in small caps. The first occurrence, so I'll put the index as 0 dot value is equal to, for example, I'm selecting the date as 12th. Now I want to select the month. I would select the month using the class attribute. So class is DDL. So if you would see, the first occurrence of DDL class was at occupation. So occupation had the index as 0. Next was day. Name also day also had the same class attribute DDL. So its index would be 1. Next is month. This is the third occurrence of the class as DDL. So its index would be 2. So I'll just copy this. Index as 2 and the value. Let's see what are the different values. I'll see the HTML of month. I'll expand this. You could see, although we are seeing Jan, Feb, March as options, but the value attribute as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll take any date. I will select this as 2. So 12th February. And now we have to select the year. If you remember, year had an incorrect name over here, like the name attribute is day. So we'll have to use this day in our code. And if you remember, the day we had already used for the date. Now this is the second occurrence of the name attribute as day. So what I have used over here is dot get elements by name, and I have used the index as 1 because the 0th index is taken by this day field. And we'll see what are the options available in the year. You could see the value as 1916, 1917, whatever value I'm selecting, 1925, any random value I'm selecting. So let's execute up till now and see if everything is correct. And here you go. I'll just maximize this. You could see it has correctly populated all the fields as per the code which we have written. Everything has been correctly populated, and for none of the elements we have used the ID. We have identified all the elements without ID. The last part is, we'll click on the submit button. You'll see the HTML property of submit. You could see its class is btn. We could use this. We'll just check the class or any HTML attribute of this button because this is also a button, but you could see the HTML properties are different. The class, in fact, the class is not present over here. So we could use this class with index of 0 to click on the submit button. So let's write the code to click the submit button since we are using the class name. I'll just copy the syntax. The class name was btn. It was the first occurrence, so the index is 0 dot click. So the code is ready. Now let's execute it for the last time and observe what happens. So it has clicked on the submit button, which is beneath over here, and it has given this message that data has been submitted successfully. So you can see we have achieved our target, we have achieved our goal, we have identified all the elements which were present on this web form without using the ID. So it is possible to automate web forms which do not have elements with IDs. I hope you found this tutorial helpful. The code which we have written over here is also available in the same block. It is here. You could see automate web app elements without IDs. The entire code which I have explained is available over here. You could refer it if you are finding any syntactical problems. Guys, if you like my videos, I request you to please subscribe to my channel so that you would be updated with the latest videos I would be uploading. Guys, thanks for joining. I'll see you in my next tutorial. Goodbye.